Good evening, Philippines. Good evening, Coach Percy and Ariel. It's good to be with you again. It's Lewis and Penny from Alberta, Canada, here to talk to you about our favorite subject,
Marriage.
marriage. Is marriage still a good idea?
Yes, it's a great idea. It's uh, it's a great idea, Lewis, because it's God's idea.
That's right. We love this subject because many years ago we took a marriage course, and in the marriage course, we found out that marriage is created by God. He created it as a covenant between a man and a woman. And when we got that understanding, we were able to get on with living our life knowing that we were married.
And understanding what marriage really was.
That's right.
So, yes, it's a good idea because it's God's idea. And we have to remember that mankind did not invent marriage. Contrary to how one thinks today what marriage is, we have to remember that God created it because it was his first institution that he created. Marriage is of divine origin.
You said it. God created it, He designed it, He established it, and He defines its parameters, contrary to much contemporary thought and teaching. It is definitely not a human concept.
In Genesis 2, verse 23, God said, taking a rib from the side of a man he had already created, fashioned from it a woman to be a helpmate. Marriage is a relationship and responsibility between a man and a woman, dealing with childbearing and parenting issues, creating family.
That's right. God established marriage as a permanent relationship, a covenant of union of two separate people, a man and a woman, into one flesh.
Yes, and one flesh is not simply the gluing of two people together, but rather the fusion of two distinct elements into one. When the two elements are fused into one, they become inseparable.
Mm-hmm.
A force of significant magnitude may destroy them, but it can never disjoin them.
That's right.
A man and a woman who have become one flesh under God's design for marriage cannot be separated without suffering great consequences.
It would be the spiritual equivalent of having an arm or a leg torn from their bodies. When God ordained that man and woman should become one flesh, He plainly had a permanent, lifelong relationship in mind.
Divorce is a choice in the world system, but we kingdom citizens
Have free will.
have free will, just like the worldly people.
That's right.
But in the kingdom of God system, there is no divorce.
No option for divorce. That's right, Ben.
The Pharisees asked Jesus, well, if it's lawful for a man to divorce his wife, pointing out that Moses had permitted it in the law in Mark 10, 5, verse 9. Jesus replied, because your hearts were hard that Moses wrote you this law. But at the beginning of creation, God made the male and female. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and they two will become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one. Therefore, what God has joined together, let man not separate.
And you know, in the beginning, when God created marriage, He never put an out. He never said that you can be married and then divorce. Divorce was never an option. It wasn't in His makeup. It wasn't in the creation. Marriage is a God-ordained institution that involves the joining of a man and a woman as one flesh in lifelong relationship. The institution will last as long as human life lasts on earth.
Marriage is a foundational institution. You know, that's what is so fantastic that when we got that revelation, Lewis, because your family is the beginning of your community, and advancing into.
Yeah, the family is the basic foundation of a healthy society. Marriage is the foundation of the family. Marriage is a foundational institution that predates all other institutions. Before there was anything else on earth, governments, society, churches, schools, there was nothing on this earth. Marriage was the first institution that God made.
Yeah.
And it's foundational because it's on the relationship that God began to build society.